Hey guys, Miss Davis here. This is Unit 7 Scale 3 video, determining information of a circle. Pause the video, write down your essential question. How do I find information about a given circle if I'm given the center and points on the edge of the circle? Okay, so the equation that you have to know that is the general form for the equation of a circle is as follows. Parentheses, x minus h, parentheses squared, plus parentheses y minus k squared equals our radius squared. So now some key things to point out. This is one you do have to have memorized. Okay, so you do have to have this one memorized. Some key points that I want to bring to your attention is that the h and the k, so the h, that's not going to do what I want it to do. H and the k are the coordinates of your center. So if I write h comma k, that is your center point, and the r is just the radius of the circle. Okay, so it would be that half distance out. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and jump into an example and see what we can do given the center and points on the circle. We're going to do this graphically, so sometimes the question won't give you graph paper. You just have to pull out a piece of graph paper, which there always is extra, and graph the points and figure out what's going on and then find what you need to find. Okay, so example 1 says the center of circle O has coordinates at -5, 7. So let's go ahead and plot that point. Oopsies. Okay, so circle O means that O is the center of the circle, and it passes through the point. So it passes through the point. That means this point is on the edge of the circle. So it's on the edge of 1, -1, so over 1, down 1, right there. Okay, and that's point P. What is the length of the diameter? So we want the whole distance all the way across the circle. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to kind of visualize this for you. If I know that I have the center and a point, so that's the center point, and I have a point on the edge of the circle, then when you draw in your circle, you're going to be making a big circle around the center. So in this case, P is on the edge, so really our circle is going to look something like that if I were to draw it in. Okay, so we want the length of the diameter. So what we can do here is we can use the coordinates of the 2 points that they give us, make a right triangle, but that will only give us our radius. So if I connect from P to O, then we can use the distance formula and make our right triangle. So I'm going to draw a line over and up, and there's our right triangle. We can use that distance, but what we're going to be finding is just the radius. Okay, so our radius we're going to have to multiply by 2 to get the diameter, because we know our diameter is equal to 2 times the radius. Okay, so let's go ahead and count the boxes. We get a distance of 8 here going up vertically and a distance of 6 going horizontally. So if I do 8 squared plus 6 squared equals, technically it's our radius squared, and I add those two together, I'm going to get 100 here. So 100 equals r squared, square root both sides, we get 10 is the radius, so our radius is equal to 10. Don't fall for the trick answer, it's not number 2. Our diameter we have to multiply by 2 to go all the way across, because we're going to have technically another 10. So it'll be 10 times 2 is equal to our diameter. So our diameter would be 20. Okay, so next example down, let's read that one through. The center of circle O. So why don't you guys try this one on your own. Pause the video, try to plot the points, and figure out what the diameter is of the circle. Okay, so pause the video, plot the points, and try it on your own. Okay, so I plotted my 2 points. I drew in a sketch of the circle, and then I found my rise and my run between the 2 points, making the right triangle, and then using the Pythagorean theorem here. So 4 squared plus 3 squared, and if you know the Pythagorean triples, we know that it's a 3, 4, 5 triangle. If the sides are 3 and 4, then the hypotenuse is always 5 with the Pythagorean theorem. But we want to know the diameter again, so our diameter is going to be equal to 2 times the radius, which is 10. And so to draw it in, if I had the radius drawn in there, draw another line to the edge of the circle over there would be another 5. Add them together to get 10. So I know that doesn't look like a 10, but that's a 1 and a 0. All right, next page. Okay, the next example 2 is a different kind of question, and what it does is it gives you the center and the radius, okay, and then they ask, does this point lie on the circle? Justify your answer. So as you can see, they're decimals, and decimals are not going to be very easy to see just by looking at the graph. They're going to be very hard to see. So when they give you the center, I want you to make sure you label that as h comma k, and our radius is 3. So if they give us all this information, we're going to be plugging it back into that general form of your circle. So x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals our radius squared. Okay, and then that extra point that they give us is an x comma y value that we're going to plug into the equation to see if the left side of the equation equals the right side. So let's just make our equation using our center first and our radius, and then we'll show you how to plug in that point. So our general equation is going to be x minus our h value, which is positive 4, squared, plus y minus, and then there's a negative 5, so 2 negatives, equals our radius squared. Okay, oopsies, hang on. Our radius we already know is 3, so I'm going to plug in a 3 squared. So this is the general equation with the center and radius plugged in. And now we're going to apply our point and plug it in to our equation. So we're going to plug in to see if the left side equals the right side. Okay, so I'm going to plug in the point 5.2 for x, so I'm going to do 5.2 minus 4 squared plus our y value is negative 2.25. Now there's double negatives in there, it's going to change to a plus, so plus 5 squared. Does that equal, so I'm going to put a little question mark over the equal sign, 3 squared is 9. Okay, and then from here I would highly recommend just typing the whole left side right into your calculator. Okay, so this whole left side put into your calculator. And when we do that, we end up with 9.0025. And that does not equal 9 exactly, so no, the point does not lie on the circle. Okay? So that would be how you answer that question. So the answer would be no, because it doesn't make the left side equal the right side. That would be technically called a solution to the equation, and solutions would make the equivalency on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and have you pause the video and practice at least putting this one into the equation. Okay, so pause the video and try this one on your own, and then we will go over it. Okay, so I just wanted to show you how to plug in your center and radius for this one. It's a little bit different. So the center gets plugged in, positive 3 goes in negative, and then a negative 2 is eventually going to change that sign right there. Both of those are going to change to a plus. And then when we have the square root of 80 plugged in for our radius, we want to make sure we use parentheses and then square it. Okay, so what happens when you do that, the actual value of square root of 80 is actually just 80. So if I took the square root of 9 and squared it, it's really just 9. So our next step is to take the point that they give us, which is negative 110, plug that guy in for x and y. So our next step down should be negative 1 minus 3 squared plus our y value is negative 10 plus 2 squared. Does that equal square root of 80 squared is just 80. So then if I type that whole thing again right into the calculator, you end up with 80 on the left side. So it does indeed end up equaling 80, and that does equal the right side. So it is a solution to the circle, which means that yes, negative 1, negative 10 does lie on the circle. So, if it says justify, you don't have to really write a paragraph or any more explanation than that. Your work is the justification. If it said explain, you'd have to say something like, yes, because when I plugged in the point, it made the left side equal the right side, proving that it's a solution to the equation, okay? But it doesn't, it just says justify, so your work is enough justification. So go ahead and write a couple bullets or sentences for your summary and do all of your practice.